It's fall in Iowa City, and welcome to Iowa City West and Trojan Field, a gorgeous night for football on senior night. Tonight, the undefeated Trojans host the Kennedy Cougars. Kennedy defeated Waterloo West last week in a shootout to pick up its second victory of the season. Should be a good one tonight from Iowa City. The Cougars and the Trojans up next on MC22.
To Logan Wolf, captain, 7 play 75. To A.J. Green, Marcus Orr doing nice against Cale O'Neill on the very next possession.
Welcome to Trojan Field on the campus of Iowa City West High School. A good one, week 7 of the high school football season. The Trojans host the Kennedy Cougars. Good evening and welcome. Rob Brooks along with Jerry Koala. And Jerry, both of these teams have been hit by the pandemic this year as they've combined to play 7 games, and on a normal season it would be 14. But they've rebounded and both appreciate being here tonight, able to play.
At this point, yes, you're just glad to be here to play, and especially the last regular season game of the year heading into the playoffs a week from now. So momentum is huge for both of these football teams that have really decent offenses and pretty porous defenses. So we'll see what happens here tonight, but it ought to be a good one.
Well, we'll talk about some of those offensive players, 2 of them in particular. For Kennedy, Max White, what a career he has put together and leads this offense, and might see him throw a little more tonight.
Well, we're going to see. They're going to have to use the pass a little bit to get some offense generated for this team. But Max is quite a runner. He's strong, pretty fast for kid his size, but he's very solid and good football head in his shoulders.
And for Marcus Morgan, the quarterback for Iowa City West, also plays defense, one of the best high school athletes in the state.
I agree totally with that, Rob. This kid is dangerous every time that ball gets in the grips of his hands from center. He can throw it so very well, but he also can run with the football too. And I got to go on to say that he's going to be one of the top multi-sport athletes that Iowa has ever seen.
It should be a good one tonight. We've got some stars on the field, and both teams trying to have some good things happen tonight to get ready to the playoffs next week. It's the Trojans and the Cougars coming up next on MC22. High school football on Mediacom MC22 is brought to you by McGrath Family of Dealerships, 5 Seasons Tire, the Tom Riley Law Firm, Collins Community Credit Union, Heartland Hearing Center, and by Extreme, powered by Mediacom. And here come the Kennedy Cougars with the Block family. That's been a tradition of Kennedy football under the direction of Brian White. And the Trojans on senior night, undefeated, coming off a big victory against Dubuque Senior last weekend. Brian White, head coach of the Cedar Rapids Kennedy Cougars. And what's going to be important for his team tonight?
Well, there's no question that they run the football very well, and so that's going to be part of that offense. They just need run game control against Iowa City West to keep the Trojans offense off the field, and then they got to keep a tight grip on Morgan. They can't let Marcus Morgan get loose tonight, whether he's running the football or even passing the ball, so they got to get after him.
Garrett Hartwig, the outstanding head man of Iowa City West, a tremendous victory last weekend, and that taught him a lot about this team.
No question about it. You go on the road, you can play a pretty good Dubuque Senior football team, and they won on the road after not having played for 3 weeks. So he found a lot about this football team. It's a really good football team. They got to have a masterful Morgan. Boy, he's got to get off on the go. How he goes is how Iowa City West will go. And then defensively, they just need to surround Max White. They've got to withstand what Max White can punch on them with that running attack.
So Liam Way will kick off for the Cougars. Graham Goring, the dangerous return man, wide receiver, fumbles the ball inside the 5 and retrieves it, then fumbles it again, and then he is buried inside the 15-yard line. Lucky to hang on to the football there. Lewandowski, senior linebacker, made the tackle, almost had a shot at the football.
Well, interesting that he was, as he was kicking that ball forward, he was looking to see where the defenders were, that he could maybe find a gap to run through. That's just, savvy of a good return man, but when he dropped it the second time, he should have fallen on it, so we didn't have any problems with it. But fortunately, Iowa City West will have the football 86 yards from the goal line.
Well, both of these teams know how to score. Ton of confidence. Both offenses. Iowa City West averages almost 40 points per game. Morgan out of the shotgun. Fakes the handoff and fires the ball deep. And it's caught by Brown. And he's still on the move. Has a chance to take it all the way and does. How about that? Lightning on senior night.
Well, it was a good pick by Marcus Morgan to find him. He was in that slot on the left side, just ran right down the seam in front of the cornerback and between the free safety, and he was, we can see how well Marcus Morgan throws this football. Watch him throw a dart. Beautiful pass. Brown showing his speed here and his strength, though, because he had to shrug off a couple of tackles to get where he needed to be, and he did it.
86 yards, one play. And Brian White told us before the football game he was concerned about his defense, especially on the back end, giving up big plays. Gave one up first play of the football game. Extra point is good by Owen Smith, the senior kicker.
Well, I mean, they weren't expecting a touchdown pass out of this, but you'll take what you can get. And his zone defense is applied by that defensive backfield. And, a couple of missed tackles can, keep this to a 20 to 30 yard gain versus an 86-yard touchdown pass. But nevertheless, Iowa City West, certainly was going to come out and pick on that defensive backfield of Cedar Rapids Kennedy. And they've done that, been successful on play number one, so Kennedy's just going to have to bounce back from that and learn how to defend it better.
And Brown, his first touchdown reception of the season.
Well, couldn't come at a better time, Rob. Again, these teams are playing for position next week when it comes to the playoffs, and they certainly want to take that momentum of a win tonight to get there, and they know how well they're going to have to play to beat the opposition here.
But Brown has been a big receiver, a big play receiver. Coming into tonight, 8 receptions for 102 yards. So that average will certainly be boosted by that 86-yard touchdown run after catch. Smith will kick off. Cotton and Max White deep for the Cougars. And White will take it at the 5. Sheds a couple of would-be tacklers and gets out to the 25-yard line. So pretty good starting field position for Cedar Rapids Kennedy.
No question, it's got to get the offense out there and get things moving. Whatever they've put in for tonight's game, Rob, as far as the schemes go, certainly they're going to try to find the weaknesses that Iowa City West defense has. And West's defense is a little bit porous to both the run and the pass. So Kennedy can be successful in its own right.
So Max White, as we talked about in the open, Cedar Rapids Kennedy's all-time career touchdown leader with 40. Hands off to DeMarcus Ray, who's had an outstanding season with 64 carries, 343 yards. It was Ray and Jason Williams at the beginning of the season vying for playing time, and it has been mostly Ray, but Williams has been used. As we take a look at the Cougars starting lineup, and we always talk about that big offensive line.
Always big. They average about 260 across the front. The little guy on the offensive line is the center, Giuseppe Gianforte, and he's at 220 pounds.
Short gain for Ray will bring up 3rd and 7. Connor Colby, of course, one of the stars up front for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. And here is the defensive starters for Iowa City West. You see Marcus Morgan goes both ways. He's the free safety, has a couple of picks this year.
Good solid linebacking crew that they have.
White. And it is caught. Might be a yard short of the first down marker. Jalen Cotton, his 10th reception of the season. Over 100 yards, and it'll be 4th and a couple. Punt team comes on for Kennedy.
Well, that's not a bad series for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. And they were trying to establish the run. They got a chance to give Max a chance to throw the ball. Got a sideline pattern out to the Kennedy sideline, just short of the first down.
Packabeer boots it away. Off the side of his foot and out of bounds. And it'll be a really good field position for Iowa City West for their second possession after a 24-yard kick.
That's one thing I think Kennedy and Iowa City West, but Kennedy especially, they've got to provide them their defense with longer lengths of field for Iowa City West offense to use. In other words, he's got to punt the ball 35 to 40 yards to put West back deeper into its territory, so it has to run a lot of plays to get where they need to go.
So that Kennedy defense stunned by an 86-yard pass play. And the snap gets by Morgan, and he does the right thing and just falls on it back at the 25-yard line. Didn't look like he was quite ready for it.
And off to his right a long ways, because when you're back there in that shotgun, you're looking downfield too. How is the defense set up? So you don't have a complete eyeball on the football as it comes to you. So here comes the snapper. Goring's in motion. The eye was off to his right.
Yeah, he called for it. Did the right thing and just fell on it. Senior quarterback Marcus Morgan. Has 6 Division I football offers, also an outstanding baseball player. Has Division I opportunities in baseball as well. And that's going to be a first down. Trey King out of the backfield. A little burst right through the middle before Reed Packabeer was able to bring him down.
It's a good thing Packabeer got there from that linebacker position. Otherwise, he's on the run. They're showing some speed. Looks like we have a penalty marker that's down, but this is a screen pass, knowing that in the second down and long that they had to go, Kennedy was coming after him, let him slip through, throw a little screen pass. Oh, face mask penalty.
Yeah, the one thing too, Jerry, when you watch Morgan, you can tell how comfortable he is in the pocket. He carries out his fakes very calmly. He'll look to the right, get the ball off to the left, and there you see the penalty.
He just grazed the face mask, but nevertheless, it's still a face mask. No question, Marcus Morgan's got, because he pitches the ball, he has a very good throwing motion, and all you do is you just apply that to the football. Get used to it a little bit at the beginning of the season, learn how to grip it, get your hands around the threads, you throw a nice spiral.
Fake of the handoff, and they pass out on the flat to Williams. And he's got a chance down the sideline and then shoved out of bounds by Packabeer. Another thing Iowa City West does a tremendous job of year in and year out is the weapons they put on the field, they use them.
And because of Marcus Morgan's diverse ability at quarterback, they can run a different set of plays at you. They put in motion their wingback from left to right, and it's Williams that gets a swing pass out to the right side, gets some nice blocking downfield, and some big yards.
And here is the Iowa City West offense. King the tailback, and very good up front. Graham Goring, an outstanding wide receiver. Watch him, number 12. Handoff right up the middle, and nothing for King that time. Kennedy filled the gaps nicely up front as Drew Bartles from his linebacker position made the hit.
Yeah, Bartles, the leading tackler. You see him coming right there at the bottom of your screen. He's the outside linebacker, and his job, if he reads run, is to fill a gap. Just happened to be on his side. He was able to bring the ball carrier down for a loss.
Loss of 4, 2nd and 14. Morgan, two-step drop, fires, Goring, end zone, 6 more for Iowa City West.
Again, just a slant pattern. I can't imagine why the defender had given it that much room to Goring, and even at the snap of the football, he drops back deep into the end zone. You see how much room there is that Goring has. And again, with Marcus Morgan's ability to throw the football, he's going to deliver sharply. And as long as the receivers can catch it, it's kind of like an Aaron Rodgers type thing. You know, he puts the ball where the receiver can catch it.
Nice tight spiral. Extra point is good by Owen Smith.
See Goring getting up a little gimpy there after being tackled on that touchdown reception.
Can't start much better, and the Trojans have done so tonight on top 14-0. We'll be back. Graham Goring, who caught the touchdown pass, averaging over 20 yards per reception this season. That's his 14th reception in just this is the 4th game. Getting stretched out over on the sideline. That's now 11 touchdown passes for Morgan this year. Perfect 5 for 5 tonight for 151 yards. So he's now over 700 yards in just the 4th game. Boy, think about if they played a full schedule. And if they go deep enough in the playoffs, we'll get to at least a regular season plus 1 or 2.
No question. You know, coming into this game, he'd thrown for 4,200 yards in his career, you know, so certainly he knows how to throw it. And he's just improved every year since his sophomore year, even playing as a freshman, but gotten, you know, larger, stronger, more confident with what he's doing. And you alluded to the fact that his ability to be calm in the pocket, those types of things, all come from that athletic, the athleticism that he shows in all the sports that he plays in.
Michael Morgan, his father, outstanding basketball player at the University of Iowa.
Did all right, didn't he?
Here is Ray. Cuts back and gets enough for a first down. So that'll be the first down of the night for Kennedy.
Well, it's important that they keep this offense on the field, move the ball downfield, put that ball across the goal line. They got to make a game out of this. We've already seen what Iowa City West can do with the speed and the skills players that they do have. Kennedy can't fall behind and try to play catch up.
Ray tries to bounce it outside. Not going to happen. Terrific pursuit by Iowa City West on this play. Abramoff came up and made the stop.
Came up hard.
Got some hitters on this team.
Well, they do, and they just recognize if it's a handoff, it's a run, and it's coming at me, nobody's blocking me, I'm going to make the tackle.
And Kennedy knew that they were going to have to get the ball outside on the edge by way of run or pass. And Max White, of course, is going to be a marked man every time he takes that snap, and nowhere to go as Eric Torres Castro made the stop along with Howarth. This is not the position you want to be in, especially if you're Kennedy. Haven't thrown the ball a whole lot this year. 3rd and 14.
Well, they're successful rolling Max out, and that's what they're going to do here in the legal procedure penalty against Kennedy. But you need yardage, roll him out. Have a 5-yard out pattern, have a 12-yard out pattern, and find the open receiver. And if not, Max can run with the football. He's proven that.
Bartles got that one, but it's going to come back.
Well, not only is Iowa City West fast offensively, but they've got some speed on the defensive side too, so they're getting through those gaps or coming in from the outside at the line of scrimmage, getting right to the ball carrier.
So now 3rd and 19. White under pressure, just gets it away to Ray, and he's got some room to move. Flag does come out. He's tackled at the 44-yard line. So we'll check out the penalty marker.
That came from a long ways from that back judge, almost to just behind the linebackers.
Well, and our officials tonight, Brad Bunting from Indianola is the referee, Jason Higgins, the umpire from Johnston, and Jade Leach, the linesman from Pella. Dirk Leshansky from Indianola is the line judge, and Anthony Meyer, the back judge from Mingo.
Well, ineligible receiver downfield, Rob, is going to nullify a 16-yard gain and a well-executed pass play for the Cougars going to the other side. Add 5 to their previous distance to go. Come back and run this almost the same play.
Another 3rd and long for Kennedy. White will just take off and maybe a couple of yards. He is met almost immediately by Alex McKay.
I know they were trying to be conservative here, right? Because West knew they were going to be throwing and West was going to come after him. But, sometimes you got to take on that challenge. As I said, you had the whole wide side of the right side of the field. Max, a right-handed quarterback. Let him roll out, pick his receiver, or have the option to run.
This afternoon, Jerry thought, boy, it's going to be really windy tonight in Iowa City. We're down a little bit. Not a hint of wind. It has really died off since about 6 o'clock tonight. Packabeer gets a decent roll, and it'll be inside the 40-yard line, but still terrific field position for the Iowa City West Trojans after a better kick of 39 yards.
Got a little roll out of that one. Yeah, it's
no wind.
Absolutely gorgeous for football, for anything you want to do on a Friday night in Iowa in almost mid-October, because you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, week 7 of the high school season. Touched 80 degrees this afternoon.
That's golfing weather, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot of golf weather. But yeah, you'll take 80 for sure. Officials timeout. 4:45 left to go in the first quarter. And as good of 2 series as we have seen by any team this year.
Well, coming into this game, we do enough research on these teams, and I got to looking at these players, and especially with Marcus Morgan, whom we talked about. I mean, this is an Iowa City West team that may be able to vie for a 4A state title. I'm throwing that out there because, there's going to be some Des Moines teams that aren't going to be able to play in the playoffs because they are shut down because of the COVID. But there are some other teams, like Southeast Polk for sure, that out of the Central Iowa Metro League that would give this team fits. But Iowa City West, and with the win at Dubuque Senior that you talked about before, this is a good Iowa City West team. Has some good talent around, a very, very well-rounded quarterback in Marcus Morgan.
Well, and Garrett Hartwig, especially after the layoff, even though the Trojans could practice, couldn't play games, he had to be thrilled, and was, just about the character and the resolve of this football team, which this type of year, really any year, can carry you a long way. And Coach Hartwig knows a thing or two about getting to the dome. Morgan felt the pressure from the backside and tried to find Goring, in Cougar territory, couldn't hang on. It'll be second down.
I think he tried to force it into Goring. With you see, we got the same angle. There's Goring right there when he had Williams out on the right flat. Well, it would have been a short pass, but it could have been a good-sized gain. But I know Marcus just trying to, loosen up that Kennedy defense, get some other receivers involved.
Goring, leading receiver for Iowa City West. Williams, number 2. And back to the ground with King Jr. And that'll be a first down. Ochiltree came in to make the stop for Kennedy.
Well, that Kennedy defensive line, they're in a 3-man defensive line alignment. So they're head up on center, head up on tackles, maybe inside shoulder in those tackles, but they're easy to block. It's the linebackers that are supposed to get in there and fill those gaps and tackle a ball carrier. Well, you get a tight end down on a linebacker, you get a receiver down on another receiver down on a linebacker, you open up some running room, and that's what Trey King found.
And King will take it again. This time a good collision right at the line of scrimmage. Pack a beer in there.
Nothing like being physical, huh, Rob? You could hear that one all the way up here.
And he can hit you. Pack a beer now over 30 tackles this season.
Did a nice job. Also in there for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. Defensive lineman Cale Knox right there rolling on top. From that defensive tackle position. Keep it to a short gain, no gain at all.
And incomplete. Off the play action, Goring, the intended receiver. That was open as well.
Well, they're giving him a lot of room out there, and so the defensive back is backing off. It's right at the top of your screen, and you can just see Goring. You can see his feet moving. He just runs a simple slant, a very shallow post pattern. And with the defensive back and the amount of room between them, it allows Marcus Morgan a chance to put the ball where he can catch it.
And Mitch Shares at 6'4", the best corner for the Cougars. He's got the assignment on Goring tonight. Big third down. Cougars desperately need a stop. King has some room and an extra effort. Fouled his blockers nicely, and it is going to be very close. And they'll give it to him.
A little trap play from right to left, almost a draw play, if you will, but it was trap. Pulled that right guard across because he's uncovered in that defensive alignment. You'll see C62 pull across to the left side. And the defensive linemen are blocked. He knocks out the linebacker, and Trey King, a little shifty in there with those wheels he has, able to pick up a first down.
Max White had to come from behind to tackle him. Didn't get it by much, but got it. And this will go against the Cougars.
Gotta hold your spot out there. It gets that, getting that quarterback into a non-rhythmic cadence, and he'll emphasize one of those sounds. And the defensive, the hybrid linebacker out there jumping across, Drew Bartles, just got a little over anxious.
Well, you're pretty comfortable doing anything here on 1st and 5 if you're Iowa City West. And they'll hand it to King. Big hole, but closed in a hurry. Nice job in run support for Vandersanden.
He's the second leading tackler on this team. Watch Marcus Morgan. He'll hand off and fake like he's throwing it. You're just trying to throw off those defensive backs and linebackers. And Vandersanden does a nice job not to be influenced by it. Bring down Trey King for a short gain.
His 25th solo tackle this season. 2 minutes left to go in the first quarter. Third possession for the Trojans, already up 14-0. Morgan under center. Lofts this one high in the air, and it is caught for a touchdown. Unbelievable grab by Williams.
Perfect throw, too. It had enough loft on it back into the end zone for Williams to come underneath it.
31 yards.
And make the catch right over top of Max White. He just runs right past White. There's Marcus. Nice delivery. You can see how high it is, and Williams just keeps running into the end zone. Actually, it wasn't Max White.
Nope, Zane Hill back there defensively. But Williams did a great job adjusting his body and concentrating on the football.
Yeah, that's not easy to do. Turning around while you're running downfield, trying to pick that ball out of the lights.
Making sure that you're staying in bounds. So Williams now 11 catches this season. Extra point perfect. And Owen Smith is 3 for 3 in that category. And 3 possessions, 21 points for Iowa City West. Tough to do better.
You give Marcus Morgan time to throw, and the receivers are going to run their route properly because they have some very good speed and can get open. He's going to find them. Just a matter of putting it up in an area where only the receiver can get to it.
Williams has a long reception of 56 yards this season. That TD good for 31. Morgan now 6 out of 8 for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. That's 12 TDs thrown, just 1 interception for the senior Marcus Morgan.
And I'm afraid with getting to the end of the first quarter, heading into the second quarter, it's going to have to change the way Kennedy plays, especially offensively. They got to move that ball downfield.
Cougars coming into tonight, averaging 31 points per game. 7 plays, 61 yards. And this kickoff blown dead. It'll be offsides against Iowa City West.
Well, I noticed on their last kickoff that they had 3 or 4 black jerseys with those gold helmets, those shiny helmets that were a little bit over that line of scrimmage.
This is a little bit like our Cedar Falls Washington game last week, Jerry, where Cedar Falls just struck quickly, early and often, and Washington, by the end of the first quarter, boy, what just happened? Brian White and the Cougars have to feel the same way here tonight.
No doubt about it. Just got to adjust, keep playing, execute offensively, but they got to get the ball downfield. You know, speed really is making a huge difference in this game for sure right now, as well as the skills and the execution that Iowa City West is doing. You can see that Iowa City West just a little bit faster than Cedar Rapids Kennedy.
Smith gets that right foot into it. It's a short kick. And we'll go out of bounds. Smart play there by Luke Bradley. Not to try to make that over-the-shoulder catch. Let it go out of bounds and be good starting field position for the Cougars.
Yeah, I'd take it at the 35. Make it a 65-yard field and get it downfield. I think they're going to have to roll out Max to right and left. Let him use the wide open side of the field, find some receivers, and if not, let him run. Just running up the middle just isn't going to work for now anyway, because that defense isn't loosening up at all, isn't broadening and widening at all. So Kennedy's going to have to make them spread out. I mean, you can see they got 8 men in the box.
And a direct snap to White, going nowhere, going to lose yardage. Mason Applegate. Outstanding play from the defensive line.
Just burst right through that right side, the left side of the defensive line, and stopping Max. This is just a quarterback sweep. You can see he's got two blockers in front of him, and Applegate just does a nice job to race past that offensive lineman. That's the center, Giuseppe Gianforte.
And the Cougars were concerned about that defensive line, especially on the nose. How strong it is. Here's a nice pass to Cotton, and it's complete to the 47-yard line. Jalen Cotton, the top receiver for Kennedy.
And you can see the cushion that Iowa City West is giving him. The respect that they're going to give him as a receiver. Max does a great job to set and fire this ball right across the middle. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that coming from left to right. Use the wide side of the field, get 2 or 3 receivers out there, and let them run various patterns, and all Max has to do is just pick out the right one.
Jalen Cotton, his 11th reception this year, 2nd tonight. White trying to get outside. That hadn't worked in the first quarter. All sorts of black jerseys.
Well, no matter how much you really want to see, this running game get going, you got to adjust to it. Iowa City West just too fast. They see it coming. They're in those gaps. They're very well prepared for this. Rob, you can't tell me that Coach Garrett Hardwick and his staff haven't taken a look at what Kennedy does, and they're very uno-dimensional. That they just certain alignments is going to cause the ball to get in the hands of Max, and they're just going to try to sweep left and right or right up the middle. If they get enough bodies there, slow him down.
Cougars got a lineman down. Left tackle Jamison Bean.
6'6", 295 pounds, man. That's a lot of loss.
Well, you talk about that offensive line, Jerry, and of course Connor Colby, the star up front, one of them.
He got rolled up on from behind.
It's always a fear of any offensive lineman. But go over the heights and weights of that offensive line for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. It's an impressive group.
Colby at 6'6", 315 is the right tackle. Gavin Bascom, 6'2", 240 is the right guard. As I mentioned, Giuseppe Gianforte at 6'1", 220 pounds, the little guy at center. And on the left side, you've got Cameron Kelso at 5'11", 275. Jamison Bean, who they're just walking off now, and it's nice to see him be able to walk off the field. He's at 6'6", 295 pounds, man. That's bigger than a lot of small college offensive lines.
And not only big in size, but outstanding football players. Left side at the 24. So some positive plays there for the Cougars. Punt of 34 by Packabeer.
Well, they did the one pass play to Cotton for 13 yards. They really needed the first down. They tried to go back to their bread and butter plays, and that would have been the sweep, with Max. They lost some yardage, and it ended up being a 4th down and 8 when they had to punt the ball away. Again, they're going to have to adjust their offensive schemes.
But right now, Cougars thinking about trying to get a stop. 3 possessions, 3 touchdowns for the Trojans. King finds some running room. A gain of about 7 out past the 30-yard line. Bartles leading the way for the Cougars. King came into tonight 39 carries for 225, a couple of touchdowns. He can catch the ball in the backfield as well. Perfect, almost. I'll call it perfect. I'm sure Coach Hartwig wouldn't. A first quarter for Iowa City West. On top 21-0. Rob Brooks and Jerry Koala. First play of the second quarter. Morgan just calmly moves to his right and finds Goring. Very close to a first down. Reed Packabir, another stop for the Cougars.
Yeah, right across the middle. Goring just kind of floated in there. Marcus Morgan finding him for the gain. Enough for a first down. In that first quarter, Rob, 14 plays run by Iowa City West, 212 yards.
Well, first play of the game went for 86, so they got off to a good start.
Yeah.
That's what they call coming out of the gate. Morgan shifty with those eyes too, and gets it to Williams. It's close to midfield. That'll be good enough for a first down.
Well, the thing you can do with speed is run short patterns, get the ball up to him quickly, and watch him turn and run, get away from defenders. Williams has speed. Marcus Morgan has a terrific quick delivery. We've seen what Trey King can do running the football.
Anderson at another stop. He's over 30 for the season. Cougars 2-2. Iowa City West ranked in the top 10 in Class 4A. And we got Bartles to jump for the second time.
I know being down 21-0, you're really anxious to get in there and make a play. You got to sit back and wait for that ball to move.
Watching that hand movement of Marcus Morgan, which he claps his hands, and that's the indicator to snap the ball.
Sometimes, yes, but not that time because it was like the second clap. It's like going on count of 2.
Right, but that's what he's watching from a defensive standpoint instead of sitting back. King down the sideline. He's got a pretty good burst through the middle too.
What a play. Cross buck action. You had the motion man left to right, the snap to the quarterback, fakes to the motion man, and King right behind him. Watch this. Here's the motion man. Here comes King right behind it. Got a pulling guard. Got Kennedy back on its heels.
Has to hurdle away from a bench over on the sideline. Which is no problem for him.
No, none.
Another first down for the Trojans. Up the middle. This is Fabian Brown. How about that burst of speed? Boy, they just keep coming at you with different players.
Well, they pulled right guard, right tackle, and wing back to the left side. Center just kind of full blocked everybody down because there's just a nose guard and a defensive end for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. And again, that speed, watch this. Here come, look at those 3 pulling people, and right up the middle, got a nice little seam, and he bursts through it, runs through an arm tackle for a touchdown.
And for Fabian Brown, the senior, his first touchdown of the season, and just his 13th carry. Smith adds another extra point, and it's 28-0. Perfect 4 for 4 on possessions for the West Trojans.
We can really tell that Garrett Hartwig and this coaching staff got the attention of his football team this week. You know, of course, they were able to win last week. Lucky as it was, they scored enough points. But I think the things they need to work on certainly were defensively, because they had given up 23 points to Dubuque Senior. So they needed to shore that up, but this offense has just taken off.
And remember, hadn't been able to play a game for 3 weeks.
Well, somehow or other, they're remembering how to play the game. I think for sure some of these kids, even individually, were getting out doing some workouts, getting the football in their
Well, they
hands,
could practice.
Oh, that's right. Iowa City West was practicing.
Just could not play because there was no in-school classes taking place in the Iowa City School District. So Liberty, City High, and Iowa City West had to shut down their season for 3 weeks. 5 plays, 76 yards. Effective. Cotton back for the Cougars. Max White, take it at the 3. And is driven back as he hit the hole hard by McAreevy.
Well, that was
a pretty good collision.
Form tackle, shoulder pad right into Max White, driving him back. You can see he's looking for an alley to run through, and he finds one and quickly closes. What a great form tackle.
One of West's top defenders.
Swing, double.
A swing pass. It'll work for a few yards to Flanagan. Alan Flanagan, the fullback.
Nice little swing pass. Flanagan, you can see out to his right, certainly a lateral. On a way to pick up 3 yards. They need to continue to find some of those plays, just mix up some different kinds of plays and execute them.
Ray. Good tough run off the left side. Taken care of by Alex McKay.
Went to a pro formation with Max under center and an I backfield. They had a tight end left. This might be just what they have to do, kind of close down those gaps, the splits between the offensive linemen, and just start pushing forward. They got to get some kind of offensive system going here.
Right now, Cougars thinking about a first down. 3rd and 2. And Ray thrown back. Guinness, along with Howarth. And they were in that backfield quickly, just nowhere to go for Ray.
Well, they came right up between either side of the center. You know, those offensive linemen got to see those guys coming in those gaps and stop that deep penetration.
Good kick by Packabir. Fair catch called for by Goring. Best of the night, 40 yards.
Well, Kennedy's got to put a stop to this. Iowa City West, they're going to have actually a chance from here on out. Rob, they got to make it a 3 and out. Get the ball back in decent field position.
Easier said than done.
The way Iowa City West is playing, they're on a high level right now.
King back in there, right next to Marcus Morgan. And this will be Brown. Remember, he had that big play to start the game.
No question about it. You see him just jet sweep.
Drew Bartles, pack a beer. Able to bring him down for the Cougars.
Now, Iowa City West is just comfortable around. They got a 28-0 lead. They can just run plays.
They can do whatever they want.
Absolutely. Mix it up, move the chains a little bit, eat up as much clock as possible.
We've got timeout on the field with 8:17 left to go in the first half. All Trojans on MC22. Second down. And here's King. Nice burst up the middle, breaks a tackle into Cougar territory. Finally brought down by Vander Sanden. Trey King, who's generated a lot of Division II and FCS interest, and showing us why tonight.
And getting some terrific blocking. That one off the left side. Runs deep into Kennedy territory. You see they're blocking down on defensive end, kicking out on Bartles, a linebacker right there. And King, with that terrific speed, is able to get through those openings and get downfield faster than Kennedy can get to him.
Play mix for West, so good. Pickup of 20. King, right side. Terrific blocking at the line of scrimmage, and then nice job by the Cougars to make a stop, which could have been even a bigger play. Bryce Jansen, safety for the Cougars.
You see no penetration by white jerseys as you look at that offensive line, so that means they've opened up some gaps. And King, again, nice speed. He runs far enough, he goes out as wide as he can, and he sees that gap and runs right through it.
Bartles also in there for the Cougars. Second down and 5. 4 wide for Iowa City West. They kick it out to Brown. Mikey Brown. Good enough for a first down, pickup of 6.
What about that confidence in Marcus Morgan's arm? Throw it from the right hash, a step beyond the right hash to the right side. Look at him right on the right hash, all the way over to the left side. Zing, here it comes.
And just put it right where you have to.
And Williams with, he's got enough time, enough space to find some room to run.
Garrett Eubanks on the stop for the Cougars. Trojans on the march again. And this time the fullback right up the middle. That'll be Mann. That's a good 5 yards and brings up 2nd and 5.
Now that's such a quick hitter. Kennedy's been so used to King carrying the football with that little extra second to react. All of a sudden, here comes the fullback right up the middle and picks up some nice yardage.
Akabir, another stop. 5th possession of the ball game for Iowa City West. King breaks 1. It'll be a short gain. Vander Sanden. Alex Kuck.
Packabeer racing through that left side. You'll see Reed coming through the number 33, just getting to King and can't bring him down right there. But Iowa City West closing down their splits, going to double tights, putting Morgan under center, eye backfield. Gonna pound away at it.
And up the middle with plenty of room again is Fabian Brown, and into the end zone again is Fabian Brown. 25 yards for the senior running back. His first 2 touchdowns of the season tonight.
Well, again, speed is what enabled that play to work. Speed at the offensive line. Look at that, right up the middle. And Fabian Brown does the rest of it.
And Smith stays perfect tonight. A clinic.
They certainly are getting some terrific offensive line play, but they're blocking everybody. I mean, they know who to block, how to get there, from linebacker to defensive lineman. And again, the speed of Williams. We've seen the speed of Brown, Marcus Morgan.
7 plays, 65 yards. And that time the ground game went to work.
Every play was on the ground. King ran for, well, he ran it 3 times for 27. Brown the last 25 for 25 yards. It's definitely a thing of beauty we're seeing out of Iowa City West tonight. But again, I'm not so shocked, just because, you know, in learning about this team, they've got a lot of skills people.
Yes, they do.
And again, it starts with Marcus Morgan. You know, you got, if you defend him, you
and experience.
Defend everybody else.
And experience.
You know, you'd mentioned earlier that Garrett Hardwig got a little bit of experience getting to the Dome. Well, in his 3rd and 4th years as the head coach, they finished second to Dowling in Class 4A.
Back in 2016 and 17.
And he was the interim head coach, named after Brian Sauser had left Iowa City West.
Who had good success.
Oklahoma or Kansas or wherever he headed south and south central United States. Had some really good success. But Iowa City West has always had really good talent. Not always, I guess. You know, you can remember back in the 80s when they missed out on a few years of wins. But they, you know, when Reese Morgan was the head coach,
we know who
won a couple of titles.
Turned the program around.
No doubt.
Max White. Trying to make a special teams play here with 4:36 left to go. See if the Cougars can do something positive on the offensive side of the football. At the goal line. And White turns the corner, does a good job before he was forced out of bounds by Mann.
They're trying to set up a middle return, and he just saw to the outside where the opening is. Runs past that last contain guy on that kickoff coverage team for Iowa City West.
So Max White has preferred walk-on opportunities at Iowa and also Nebraska. Been in contact with him a lot. Missouri, Iowa State. And here he is. Almost gets out to the 40-yard line.
Nice big student body to the right side, using the wide side of the field. Doing a nice job of knocking off those black jerseys. See the push on the right side. Max, the 8th leading rusher in Class 4A coming into this game tonight with over 700 yards.
Torres Castro in on the stop for Iowa City West. He could run the football, 11 touchdowns as well, 40 for his career. Here's Ray. One of the best holes of the night for the Cougars. He tried to get it outside, might have cost him a first down, but it'll be very short, maybe a yard to go.
Nice 9-yard run by DeMarcus Ray. Good line blocking, as you talked about right there. And he got a great alley to run through. Tried to juke a little bit too much. You know, I think his forward progress may have put him over, but to mark him at the 48.
Drake Kinney with a nice block in there at tight end position. 2nd down and 1. And a pass play to Kinney. Down to the 35, an effective play for the Cougars.
And a run option play by Kennedy. Good run action that held those linebackers and allowed Kennedy to get open on that left side. Right across the middle, no coverage on him.
And these are the types of plays that Kennedy thought they could be successful with. Those linebackers for the Trojans play pretty close to the line of scrimmage. And now White trying to get in the flow. Cotton, the intended receiver. He's kind of hunting for a flag. Isn't going to get one.
I think the ball was thrown a little bit behind him, and that allowed the defensive back to make that contact before the ball got there.
Fabian Brown there defensively.
I think if you call it, which it probably was an interference call, you know, it doesn't happen again. But if you don't call it, all of a sudden that opens up the door for the defensive back to have a little bit more fun back there with some contact.
3 wide for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. White flings it, and it is caught to the 25-yard line. First catch of the night for C.J. Coker, junior wide receiver.
Excellent play by Max White. Got flushed from the pocket a little bit, steps up, rolls to his left, but does not give up on the pass. Finds a short receiver, and up for a first down.
C.J.'s 2nd catch of the season.
He just kind of held right there in that short curl area.
And White goes deep in the end zone, incomplete.
Well,
Morgan in the neighborhood for the Cougars.
He had his pick, Rob, and he sent all 4 of the receivers on a fly pattern. Somewhere along the lines, you know, you can put maybe one on each side of the line of scrimmage to run into the end zone, but a couple of guys, you know, should run short or maybe a mid-range type routes, move that ball downfield a little bit more with a mid-range pass.
So timeout taken by the Cougars. As don't forget to join us for Talk Sports every Tuesday night at 6:30. Iowa State has been a hot topic here the last couple of weeks, as the Cyclones back in the top 25.
They got a nice team
couple
out
of big
there.
victories, yeah.
Yes, they do.
First time defeated Oklahoma in Ames since 1960.
What a good year that was.
I wouldn't know.
Well, I barely remember.
But I'll take your word for it.
Well, someone told me that it happened for me that year. So, but yeah, they got a good thing going on out there in Iowa State. I've watched a couple of their games, and good running game, that offensive line doing some nice blocking.
That defense.
And Longu and Hill, defense has played well.
Not easy to play defense at the Big 12.
You've got those prolific offenses, man. They're just running up and down the football field. Ryan Vance has done a nice job in linebacker.
Over Cedar Rapids, Washington star.
Even Akers,
Landon Akers.
Landon Akers.
After the timeout, White. And he'll reverse course off to the left side. And is finally taken out of bounds by Mason Applegate. Good pursuit.
Gave up on the pass too soon. He had a receiver open 12 yards downfield on the right side. Maybe we'll come in right there. Number 10, you see him right there. Deliver a nice pass to him, let him run with it, get as close to the end zone as possible, and get out of bounds if he needs to. Although Max picks up some decent yardage and gets out of bounds.
And the Cougars will take their second timeout, so they will have one left. they'll put 3 wide receivers to the right. There you get a good look. Single to the left. And West, after looking at the formation, will take a timeout.
Well, they've done a nice job of defending what Kennedy has run at them. The ball's right on that left hash, using the right side is what Kennedy will do. Roll him out, roll Max out, see if they can't give him that run pass option, get some receivers open up, but you're so close to the end zone, you know, you got to have a guy 7 yards, 18 yards, and somebody deep in the end zone. Give Max a chance to find somebody. Sometimes when you deliver that pass, you know, especially to the short route, deliver it right now and give him a chance to get upfield, because if you wait too long, then he's not going to be open, and then that gives the defense a chance to react to the deeper receivers, and then all of a sudden they're not open. Sometimes you got to make those pass decisions really quickly.
And the Trojans are ready. White will take off and get the first down, and gets inside the 5-yard line and gets out of bounds. So much accomplished on that play.
Well, they're trying to influence that defense to go to their left. That would be the Kennedy offensive right, and it did work. It allowed Max to tuck it and run off to the left side. Really no one to throw to on the left side, but the receivers opened up enough area that the defense vacated, and Max was able to sprint his way to a first down close to the goal line.
Abramoff pushed White out of bounds. Well, you know, Max, when he gets close to that end zone, more times than not, he was able to find it. We'll see what happens. Still 18 seconds left to go.
He's found a way to get to the end zone many times in his career playing for Cedar Rapids. Kennedy, they really need this now going into the halftime. Rob, you know, they'll have their 4 plays, and especially if they're pass plays, you just run simple hook patterns. I wouldn't assume that West will give too much cushion out on the outside. At the 4-yard line, I would guess the defensive backs will be standing right on the goal line. But you still got to give a little bit of ground when they go off.
The Cougars have a receiver spread out. Nobody was there defensively for an instant. And White takes it right into the end zone, and the Cougars are on the board. The 41st rushing touchdown for Max White in his career.
Well, they had double tights and they had flankers out right and left, and he just followed that offensive line off the left side. You can see the kick out block there. And all he had to do was get 4 yards. Got right to it.
Liam Way for the extra point. Way's been very good this season, now 17 of 19. Extra point category. Good drive for the Cougars. 9 plays, 71 yards, something positive to take into the halftime break.
2 very good passing plays. One to Kinney of 16 yards on a 2nd down and 1. Here's the touchdown run by Max White. And then the other was an 11-yard pass completion on a 2nd down and 10 that covered 11 yards, and that was to C.J. Coker. That helped move this ball downfield. And then Max White, the last 3 plays of the possession were all running plays, 25 yards for him, and the last was a 4-yard touchdown run. So yes, they put together a nice possession there from back from their 29-yard line, mixed up a few plays, got some good execution. At least they've been able to stave off a continuous clock here to start the second half.
Guys, talk. It's a live ball, okay? If it's a squib, somebody's got to come take it.
So Way kicks it right down the middle. Picked up at the 15. And some room for Brown. Got a chance at the 20. Does he get in? He fumbles the football into the end zone, and it looks like it's recovered by the Cougars. I turned to look to see if that was going to be the last play of the half, and it looked like it was going to. So that's going to result in a touchback.
Oh, my goodness. 84-yard kickoff return. He drops the ball at the 1-yard line.
And it stays inbounds and then recovered in the end zone by Kennedy.
Good speed through that first wave of defenders. He lost it before he even got hit.
And a good job to make sure fell on the football by Lewandowski. Well, I guess that's the only thing that really didn't go right, special teams-wise, offensively for Iowa City West.
They've had a great first half, though.
So they're off to the locker room with a 35-7 advantage. Welcome back to Trojan Field. We are at the half. Iowa City West 35 and the Kennedy Cougars 7. Jerry, plenty of highlights to go through the first two quarters.
Well prepared was Iowa City West coming into this game, and they exploded right away, right off the bat. First play, run action pass, and a pass to Williams. A little slant pattern, and he runs the rest of the way for a score, 86 yards, one play, one score, 7-0 the lead for Iowa City West. But Iowa City West wasn't done. As a matter of fact, they scored on all 5 of their possessions in this first half. Here's a slant pass and a score to Goring at 14 yards, the 5th play of that possession. Iowa City West would come back again and score, this time on a pass that was to a receiver out there for the score, and then the first of 2 touchdown runs for Iowa City West running back Fabian Brown. Here's the second of the 2, just bursting through that opening in the hole. That was provided for by the offensive line. Cedar Rapids Kennedy would finally get on the board with a minute to go in this first half, but Iowa City West wasn't done. Here's Mikey Brown taking off from the 15-yard line, fumbling at the 2, rolls into the end zone, recovered by Logan Lewandowski for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. Just staved off a 42-7 halftime score, which now is at 35-7.
Well, we thought that the Trojans would be pretty balanced tonight, and they have been. Passing yards at 201, ran for 119, over 300 yards of offense through the first 2 quarters. And for Kennedy, the passing game really started to come on in that last possession, and that's what Coach White thought they would have to do to be successful. Been pretty balanced, but still looking to approach just 100 yards in the first half, and committing 5 penalties, and just 1 for Iowa City West. A clean first half, especially for the Trojans. We'll see what happens. Week 7, last half of the regular season, if you can believe it or not. Coming up next on MC22. Senior night at Trojan Field, and it's been a happy one for Iowa City West, undefeated, but just their 4th contest. But seems like they've played 7 or 8 already.
We're in a groove right now, Rob. I mean, the big win over Dubuque Senior last weekend in Dubuque set them in the right direction. The good preparation this week because they knew they had to be very well prepared for the Cedar Rapids Kennedy team. They've shown that they've done that and have executed nicely to take the lead that they have here. I mean, everything they've done has been perfect other than the fumble and the let down the 2-yard line on the kickoff return.
Well, I guess we'll let that one go, right?
I have to. Can't get it back. Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
Max White back deep for the Cougars. And Smith will kick off to start the third quarter. And White fumbles at the 5. Sometimes these can turn into big plays, but not this time. Out to the 20-yard line, where he is wrapped up by Howarth and also Mann.
So after he returns that kickoff, he runs all the way to the sideline, gets with that offensive huddle, and get the play from their head coach, and then they run back out on the field.
Well, it's that 7th grade track.
Max was a good hurdler, I tell you what.
I'm sure he was.
He could hurdle. So what you're alluding to is I had him as a 7th grade track athlete.
At Harding, right?
Harding Middle School, yes.
Ray, there's some running room. He scampers out to the 35-yard line. So a really good run by DeMarcus Ray, who's had a good season.
Good offensive line play, gets to the outside. And need to keep having plays like that. Just run back and forth, left and right, off tackle, sweeps. But get to the line of scrimmage and don't let that Iowa City West football team get settled in on defense.
McKay and Torres Castro. The stop for the Trojans. The stop and go move for Ray, and then he's upended at the 39.
That was a nice job to sidestep one defender.
McElreevy.
See, pull right guard to left. Nice little kick out block.
McElreevy with a really nice tackle. We saw that perfect tackle on special teams earlier.
Yeah, obviously the West is showing a lot of skill in their tackling form. It's evident that they do a lot of practicing in that.
Here's Ray, searching. Gets back to the line of scrimmage.
The person who's not going to get credit for that tackle is going to be Alex McKay because he's sitting down at the bottom. He stuffed the hole. You see him on the left side, number 7 right there. You see he gets down in the hole right there and shuts down DeMarcus Ray.
Abramoff. Good hit in there. Big third down. Kennedy scored his last possession of the first half and airs it out deep, and it is caught. And this is going to be a touchdown for the Cougars. Getting behind the defense is Isaiah Morgan. "64 yards.
Well, I can't believe that Iowa City West defensive backfield let this happen. Max was looking at the short out receiver when all of a sudden he picks up the big guy running downfield, Isaiah Morgan. Why not throw it to him while he's wide open and get a touchdown out of it?
And Wade knocks through the extra point. So some momentum for the Cougars.
And there's a lot of time left. They can continue with this momentum, get that defense out on the field. You see how wide open Morgan is getting behind the defensive back. You just can't allow anybody to run by you, especially when you're a free safety. You stay as deep or deeper than the deepest receiver. And you just let Morgan run right by him.
That's back-to-back drives. Touchdowns by the Cougars. Morgan, just a junior, good size at 6'4". So 4 plays, 79 yards. That sounds like an Iowa City West drive in the first half.
Absolutely. The long play was the 64-yard touchdown pass, kind of set up a little bit with a couple of nice runs, trying to get DeMarcus Ray involved. So they roll Max out, just asking him to look for all the receivers. You just got to look downfield and see where they're at. And he finds Morgan deep, wide open.
Roaring. Good tackle by Moser. Well, that's got to give this Kennedy defense at least a little incentive. Try to get a stop.
No question about it.
You know they're working hard out there. See if they can make something happen.
Got to fill those gaps, get to the ball carrier, put him to the ground.
First possession, third quarter for Iowa City West. Morgan wanted to go deep, and then he is wrapped up by Packabeer. And a flag.
Well, nice downfield coverage by this defensive backfield for Cedar Rapids Kennedy. I'm sure they addressed that at halftime. How not to let receivers get behind them. So that allowed the linebacker, especially Reed Packabeer, because he came in on a blitz. And that defensive line to get to Marcus Morgan to sack him.
Personal foul against Kennedy.
Wow. Hand to the face. One of the defensive linemen. So what was, Rob, a sack of about 5 yards has turned into a 11-yard penalty.
And that's penalty number 6 for the Cougars. An automatic first down for the Trojans.
And not to downplay it at all as if it shouldn't be called, but it must have been something pretty fierce for the penalty to be thrown.
And nowhere to go for King. Connor Colby. Along with Alex Cuck.
Well, they got right in there, didn't they?
They sure did. That's the Cougar defense we're used to seeing.
It flew between those offensive linemen, got into that backfield.
Connor Colby, of course, heading to the University of Iowa. As an offensive lineman in there defensively right now. And nowhere to go again. This Cougar defense is fired up. Dale Knox, the nose tackle.
Again, they're tightening down their splits in this offensive line. There's Brown, Fabian Brown with the handoff, but too many white jerseys around that are bringing him down.
So 3rd and 12. Trips to the top of your screen. Set up a screen to King, and he's got a ton of room. It's a foot race. King wins it. Touchdown, just like that, Trojans.
Interestingly enough, what a perfect call it was, Rob. Kennedy sending all their inside linebackers on a blitz. I mean, that opens up your screen passing immediately. Watch this, you'll see them coming in. There's Backbeer. And then King just kind of shuffles his way to the left side and gets the pass and uses that great speed that he has to outrun the defender to the goal line.
And he's got a lot of FCS and Division II interest. 61 yards for Trey King. This offense, big play after big play. And the extra point is no good.
Well, after some building up some momentum with Cedar Rapids Kennedy, they have it kind of taken away from him on that long pass, but they got to come back and continue, you know, that offensive surge that they had in their first possession.
Cougars will have it when we come back. 7:43 left in the third, 41-14 Trojans. Trey King. Well over 300 yards on the season. Just think what some of the numbers of these players would be if it was a regular 9-game season.
I'm afraid to. That'd be very, very high.
Short kick. Taken by Luke Bradley. He does a good job to get out close to the 40-yard line.
Just doing what he can to get a nice return out of it. Not a usual ball handler he is, and I think that's why they pooch kick it that way. But he did a nice job to get it out to as far as he did. Now we'll see if this Kennedy offense can come back and do it one more time.
Scored a touchdown at the end of the second quarter. Cougars first of the night, and then the opening kickoff third quarter. Long pass play for 14 points. And Jason Williams, a sophomore, his first carry tonight.
And again, some nice offensive line play off that left side. Max White getting under center, tightening down those splits, getting double tight out of that. High backfield, just hand it off and let him run and smash mouth football.
Jamison Bean not in the game. Left tackle for Cougars injured in the first half, and Jason Williams again. That's the first down into West Territory.
Well, they're just folding down the blocks. They're just driving forward. They're not trying to do anything fancy at all. They just get using that big size offensive line. Let's just look at them drive forward, opening up running alleys for the running back. And he gets just there. It's Jason Williams.
Really high on him. Not easy in this league as a sophomore, and a flag before the play. And this will go against the Trojans.
Well, for as much success and perfection as Iowa City West had in that first half, Rob, kind of starting to slip here a little bit, although they do get their touchdown on that screen pass.
And that can happen with a big lead.
Get a little complacent maybe.
White. Incomplete.
Well, he picked out the right receiver. Just maybe should have waited an extra 2 steps to let him get in closer to that sideline. He just
C.J.
overthrows
Coker.
him just a little bit out of his reach. If he just waits that extra step, I think Max would have been a little bit more relaxed in throwing that pass. That's a nice play call. In fact, run it again.
White. And he's met and driven back by Mason Applegate.
Well, they went to an unbalanced line to the right, and then they pulled that left guard. Watch this, here he comes. And then here comes Applegate. Right down the line of scrimmage, just like you teach your defensive lineman not to gain any depth at all unless the running back is beyond you. But if he's still behind the line of scrimmage, you come right down that line of scrimmage. Applegate fast enough to get there to keep it to a short game.
3rd and a long one. And White will throw. And it's caught. That's Cotton. That'll move the chains.
Does a nice job to get his feet set right on that sideline. Max rolling to his right and drills a nice pass to him. We'll see Cotton down the bottom of your screen. He's right there on the sideline.
Well, he did bobble that. That's why I waited for a couple of seconds, because you could see the Iowa City West coaches saying they didn't have possession.
That's where the deeper official should have come in and been able to see that.
White improvises and throws it across the middle, and that's Isaiah Morgan again, who caught the touchdown pass earlier. The emergence of Isaiah Morgan into this offense.
How about some wiggle room back here by Max White? Look at this, gets away from the defensive end there. Just gets to an open area where he can find Morgan running the slant pattern. I think it surprised Demarion Williams quite heavily. And all of a sudden, Morgan runs by him.
And Goring makes a stop. Trojans on the move again. Williams inside the 10.
The play was made by that defensive end on the left side. Didn't allow Williams to get to the outside, made him cut back. And although he does pick up some nice yardage, watch as the defensive end shoots across there, keeps him from getting to the outside. But had enough running room up the middle to find some space and pick up enough yardage inside the 10.
Howarth in there again. Pickup of 7. White up the middle. It's down inside the 2.
Quarterback draw all the way. Max hadn't carried the football on this possession other than one time. That was a 3-yard gain. As they get closer to the goal line, the last thing you want to do is have too much activity going on in that backfield. Just get it and go forward.
McAreevy another tackle. It's usually White inside the 5. This time it's Williams, and right into the end zone. Jason Williams with a touchdown.
Absolutely brilliant play. Again, you talked about Max White. Usually carries the football into the end zone from that time out, or from that far out. Does a nice read option handoff. Jason Williams, left-handed, left side of the offensive line with good blocking. You see that? Treptow right there, number 72. Williams with some good speed to get to the goal line.
And sophomore Jason Williams, his first touchdown of the season. And Way pounds it through. And the Cougars offense, welcome. 9 plays, 61 yards, and that's now 3 touchdowns the last 3 possessions for Cedar Rapids Kennedy.
They're getting back some of that momentum, getting into a rhythm here. The wake-up call had been served, and now it has woken up Cedar Rapids Kennedy. Can it be enough? Is there enough time left?
Well, of course, as we know, both of these teams are pointing to next week and the playoffs, and whether Kennedy can finish the comeback off or not, if they can continue to play like they're playing here in the second half and really go back to the end of the second quarter, you don't win the game, but that's a victory.
It is. There are some, moral victories, out of situations like this, especially when you're looking down the road.
Well, you just like to play better.
Yeah, you need
give you some confidence going into practice next week.
And they've only, because they've only played 4 games anyways this season. This is, some excellent preparation.
So it'll be the Trojans with the football with 3:42 left to go in the third and a 20-point advantage.
Well, it was a 3rd down and 12 when they threw that screen pass, Rob, to Trey King in the 61-yard touchdown run. Otherwise, Kennedy had scored. That defense had really come to life, closing down anything that Iowa City West had moving, and then the screen pass and the subsequent touchdown kind of took the life out of Kennedy at the time.
First and 10 from the 20. Morgan rifles a pass. This is going to work out to the 35-yard line. Torres Castro with his first catch.
Just going back to the nickel and dime stuff, Morgan with the snap and the quick throw, just a curl pattern, hook pattern for a first down.
And he goes right back to him. This one covered up nicely by the Cougars.
Well, I think, if Iowa City West is seeing that Kennedy's going to give him all that room out there on the outside, let's just take advantage of it and we'll move the ball downfield by short gains and keep that clock moving.
Growth in there for Kennedy. A little pump and go, and Morgan overshoots the receiver. Again, Torres Castro was running the sideline pattern, and Zane Hill was there defensively.
He did a nice job, Hill did, not to go for that pump fake to the sideline, turn and runs in front of the receiver downfield.
Check out the flag. An eligible receiver downfield.
That's odd, especially with it being a pocket passing play from the pocket. An offensive lineman would release and head downfield too soon.
Four wide for the Trojans. Morgan fires the ball out to the 45-yard line, where it's caught by Mikey Brown, who's been a big play guy tonight. Alex Kuck makes a stop from his linebacking position.
Just a simple slant pattern. Kuck has to give him some room. Kuck had dropped back into that zone defensive coverage, and that allowed the receiver, Williams, to get up underneath there and make the reception and run for first down.
And Alex has 8.5 tackles for loss this season. First down. And a burst up the middle by King again, inside the 40.
You see that calf muscle tightening up.
That's what it appears to be as he gets to the sideline.
You'll see him burst right up the middle. On an opening into that defensive backfield for Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, and burst
Kennedy
is the right word. He gets through that line quickly. Getting work done. Trojan sideline. And the Cougars get to Morgan. Drew Bartles. Well, he's been wanting one of those.
He has. He's really been shooting the gap a lot. Watch him come right up the middle. You know, they've got 6 players coming. You only got 5 players to try to block them. And if you can get to the quarterback before he releases the football, obviously it's a chance to get a nice sack. And good job by Bartles there to get to him, wrap his arms around him, not allowing him to throw the football.
That's a loss of 6, 2nd and 16, and it's the ball back to the 46. And wide open. A pitch and catch to Torres Castro, who's been a favorite receiver on this drive.
You like the effectiveness of what they're doing. They don't need to make it all up in one play. Let's make back some significant yardage, which they do on this slant pattern. Brings up a manageable 3rd and relatively short, medium range.
Torres Castro only 5 receptions coming into tonight. Shows you the amount of places that Iowa City West can go with the football. And King back in there. He'll plow forward for a couple. Pack of beer.
How about that Reed Packabir coming right up the middle again? So that's what this defense is designed to do, with 3 down defensive linemen and 3 linebackers, ultimately 5 linebackers with your hybrid players. You got to continue to put pressure on into that offensive backfield.
That'll do it for 3 quarters from Trojan Field. We'll head to the 4th, 41-21, Iowa City West. Rob Brooks and Jerry Qualla back at Trojan Field, Iowa City West High School. Start of the 4th. Ball on the 36, 4th and 6. And it appears the Trojans try to pick it up.
You don't have a lot to lose, other than if they were to punt, they could push Kennedy back deep into his own territory.
Morgan fires, caught. Beautiful catch by Torres Castro.
What a play. And he had to go all out to receive that pass. Kind of gave up his body to get this. Morgan does a nice job to lead him downfield. But, you know, reaching out there, strong enough to get his hands around it, pull it into his body, and receive it for the first down.
Bryce Jansen there to make sure. So difficult to stop big plays. This Trojan offense. King right back up the middle. He keeps on going. Bartles finally is the guy to say, hey, that's enough. Brought him down at the 10.
Just what you want to get out of your running back. He's right up the middle, just kind of banging away up the middle, and he just keeps those legs driving, pushing forward, gets some nice blocking, and he just keeps running forward. Kennedy can't bring him down, can't get enough leverage on him to stop him. He's up a nice yardage down to the 9-yard line.
Yeah, 3 different players had an opportunity. For Bartles able to wrap him up. 2nd and 1. King. Try the outside. Still almost makes something happen, but this time the Cougars toughen up and make the stop. Bartles again.
He's going to get credit for it. He's the one that slowed Trey King to a halt running that way.
Cuck in there as well.
And just allowed the white jerseys to pursue and shut him down.
Fake to Brown. Morgan brought down back at the 25 by Packabeer.
Boy, did he burst through that offensive line. Again, you know, that middle linebacker, 9 times out of 10, he's going to be coming right up the middle. You see Bartles coming from the outside too. Here's Packabeer. Packabeer with some really good speed. Got to Morgan before Morgan could get outside, find a receiver.
Oh, he's a good football player.
Yeah, when we saw that Prairie game back in the beginning of the year, we saw him make similar plays to this one.
And last year, 6'2", 200. Field goal attempt by Owen Smith. And it's blocked. And the Cougars fall on it at the 37. With Connor Colby in there?
Yeah, we're going to find out right here. And it looks like Bartles.
Bartles.
Well, he just
like 24.
Battled right through the middle. This Kennedy team is playing with super inspiration. You know, it's what you try to get out of them early in the game, too, and play 4 quarters of this way. Nice to see, but it might be too little too late.
But there again, some positive things happening moving forward. So the Cougars deny the Trojans and have the ball 1st and 10 at the 37. White saw traffic and decided to take off, and at least got back to the line of scrimmage.
He gives up on it a little bit too quickly. He was wanting to do a throwback, Rob. Wasn't there, but he had his tight end, Kinney, out on the right side. He has to understand that that's where they are. He's a safety valve guy, and he's a 5-yard gain on a short pass.
Isaiah Morgan comes back in for Kennedy. White took a quick look left and then nowhere to go. Brought down by Alex McKay.
He fought off the block. It looked to me like it was supposed to be just a short pass right here, and he doesn't get there because of the way the linemen were blocking. Nice coverage by that defensive backfield for Iowa City West.
So 2 plays have lost 1 yard. And it's 3rd and 11. That's going to be a hold. Cotton couldn't hold on to it at the 45, but this will go against the Cougars.
Yeah, Scott Treptow was working on his defensive end, got around him, and all Scott really could do is just tackle him to keep him off the quarterback. You see it right here in the bottom of your screen, number 72. Yep.
That was good. McKay again.
Yeah, good form tackle. Just can't
takedown.
Just can't do that.
Takedown for 2.
Just can't do that.
So the Cougars decline the penalty. Packaboo just gets this one away. That's some pretty good bounces tonight. And it'll be inside the 20-yard line for Iowa City West. 45 yards. Might not have got 6 feet into the air.
Good old line drive kick by Packaboo. Would have put that toe into it.
Good to get rid of it.
Well, I think the guy coming in trying to block it jumped too high. I think the punt went underneath him.
Maybe on purpose.
Yeah, sometimes those guys don't like to get catch that in the midsection, so they turn their body or whatever. You know, that's an art to block a punt.
All about angles. You certainly want to come back to the sideline after a penalty. So it was 7:20 left. See how Iowa City West elects to play this series. That'll be an incomplete pass intended for Williams in the right flat.
Interesting, you know, the execution from the alignment. You fake that read option to the slot back to Marion Williams coming across the formation, and then you let him get to the outside and try to throw him a pass, and in the meantime you've got receivers, and I saw Mikey Brown down there with a block. I mean, they just do everything right.
Speaking of Brown, he catches this one out to the 22.
And just some positive yardage. It brings up 3rd down and 7. Just a quick hitter, little hook pattern.
Vander Sanden, another tackle. Be interesting for Morgan, Jerry, whether it's football or baseball or both. Goring. He's having a terrific season and another big play, and he bowls his way to the 20. Finally brought down by Zane Hill. Good for 57.
Yeah, well, you know, to follow up on your comment there, he's got the perfect arm for both, Rob, whether it's baseball or football. But now that he's playing football, you get your receivers to run the right routes, and they show good enough speed. Morgan's going to find them, and they're going to get some big plays out of him.
We've seen plenty of big plays out of the Trojans tonight. First half, 5 touchdowns, 5 possessions. Hill. Squeeze through the middle, and look at that. Gets a couple of defenders all the way to the 10-yard line.
Well, the defenders can't get any leverage on him whatsoever, and he's behind that offensive line, and once he gets his force going forward, you know, that power just shoves that defense back. They can't grab onto him. So that offensive line doing a nice job of locking on, throwing a good block, and here comes Trey King right behind him.
Good look at Cale Knox, Cougars. Fake to Brown, and the give to Fabian Brown. Mikey got the fake, Fabian got the ball. And Parker got the tackle.
Almost one of those look at this, and a little crossbuck play in that backfield, but Kennedy wasn't going to have anything to do with success on that one for Iowa City West.
And Fabian Brown, a bit slow to get up. And looks like another cramp in that left leg.
These guys are exerting a lot of energy. You know, we've noted that in the years we've done this. You can be as prepared as you want during the week, but once you get to game time,
well, this is only their 4th game.
You exert that much more energy. That was Height Parker on that tackle for Cedar Rapids. Kennedy, the big defensive tackle at 265 and just a junior. You know, Iowa City West probably not even looking to score, but they will if they get the opportunity. They're just looking to run the clock down.
They'll just continue to execute. So Fabian Brown will slow getting over to the sideline. I'll tell you, Dre, this the playoff, everybody's in it. And the pod system is going to be interesting.
Yeah, they're probably
not what we're used to
these
regularly for high school football.
Yeah, well, especially in 4A, you know, because you got obviously it's the major markets that are the ones, you know, that will be potted together. So it'll be, you know, Linn-Mar, Wash, Jeff, Kennedy, City High West probably will head east. Hard to say. Maybe Prairie will be pulled down towards Iowa City.
Always a few wild cards.
Prairie is a wild card. They've got a nice football team.
Yes, they do. Caught. Touchdown for Williams.
Now, the thing is, you got to keep running your plays. You know, they got to keep perfecting those plays and practice them and rehearse them. If you score, you score, even with a 20-point lead. Morgan again with a nice delivery. Good technique on that, Rob, because you saw him, you know, he looked to his left and he turned, rotated, stepped, you know, back foot right, stepped forward with his left foot, delivered a nice ball.
And good size at 6'3", 185. Extra point is good by Smith. Iowa City West approaching 50. Averaging almost 40 points a contest. Trojans in control. We'll be back. .454 left to go. Trojans on top. Kennedy, after getting down early in that first quarter, settled in, got something positive at the end of the first half offensively. And they've carried that offensive momentum into the third and fourth quarters. And they'll have the ball at the 20. And really, Jerry, you have to look at this passing game for Kennedy. I think to be really dangerous in the playoffs, they've got to be able to throw the ball. And Isaiah Morgan has been a player that kind of come on here in the second half and is a big target at 6'4" and a junior. He's done some good things.
I really got to rehearse that, this next week going into that first round of the playoffs, because you're right, they've got to have a passing game to, that'll open up the running game that much more. And they have the skills people to do it.
Ray back in there at running back. And he'll knife outside and then cut it back up the middle. Almost gets to midfield. A really nice pickup by DeMarcus Ray. Good for 29.
Well, he did that all on his own, really. He's just weaving in and out of potential tacklers. Watch him, he's shifting the ball from left to right. You could see the pursuit had overrun him there. Now he's back to right and left. I'm assuming that Iowa City West is subbing with their defenders. We got some guys that haven't had any playing time yet tonight, standing on the sideline, getting a little bit stiff.
Abram off with the stop. Starter. Here's White. Tries to get outside and run out of bounds by McElreavy. It's interesting. You look at Max White and also Marcus Morgan. Same class. They've competed in football and youth baseball. Known each other all the way through the ranks. Two of the bigger names at quarterback in state of Iowa.
Absolutely. Two players, two athletes that you really got to prepare well for to be able to be successful.
Ray bounces it outside and has some running room. And the hole closes quickly. Goring makes the stop.
Well, DeMarcus has some good agility left and right. Boy, you see something, if he's going left like he does here, all of a sudden he darts it to the outside. Boy, that's just instinctive running. Those are things that you can't teach, that athletes have. And DeMarcus has shown that here the last couple of carries.
White fires and incomplete. Jalen Cotton tried to dive and make a catch, couldn't do it.
Yeah, he had the chance to. I know Max wants this pass back. All he has to do is lead him, hit him in the fly. And I think Cotton could run for a touchdown. Now you can see the cushion that's being given to Cotton. Iowa City West doesn't want to give anything deep. They'll give up all the under yardage that they have to.
Terrific speed. Keep a player like that in front of you. He's had some big plays through his career. Here's White. Down to the 25. That's good enough to move the chains.
He's a hard-nosed runner, isn't he?
Rob
He gets his hands on that ball, he covers it up, and he just takes off and finds a gap to run through. Offensive line doing a nice job of blocking. Downfield blocking, too. It's all necessary for each of those plays to pick up good yardage.
Torres Castro on the stop. So Iowa City West finish the regular season undefeated, albeit 4-0. White, low snap, gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, just bounced right off his fingertips as he reached down to get to it. He had to adjust the way he was going to catch onto that football, and his hands came together a little bit too much. Really, if you think about it, that's really the first bad snap mistake that Kennedy has had here tonight, especially here in the second half. They've really picked up their effort.
White across the middle, and it's batted away. Intended for Pack-A-Beer. Torres Castro back there.
Got to be looking for that. That was a beautiful pass by Max. If Pack-A-Beer's looking for this, he just lays it out there. All he has to do is open up his hands. Look at this. Wow. Packenberry's got to look for that. He's a receiver.
Torres Castro, an outstanding second half offensively and defensively. White will take off and then fire downfield, incomplete. Morgan, the intended receiver. Williams back defensively. Let's see if this might not be a face mask against Iowa City West.
You're on top of it there, my friend.
Looked like Max White had his face mask grabbed. So that'll spot the ball at the 20. White for a few.
Still got a few more to go to get this first down. It's just a quarterback draw. They're trying to utilize that big offensive line again, Rob, because they have in the past and they certainly can. And then Max with the hard running that he provides.
Alden made that last tackle and Kennedy takes timeout.
Yeah, we'll see how the Iowa Athletic Association push together these pods for all the classes, but especially in 4A because not all 48 of them are playing.
Like 36.
The inner city schools in Des Moines aren't playing, but Southeast Polk is playing. They be number one. They be number one. Sioux City East has put together a nice season too. You know, I think they're 4-1 coming into tonight's football game.
Looks like we were talking to Coach White before the game, and Valley at what, 1-4?
Yes.
Who wants to play them?
Well, that and all their losses are to teams that
right.
are in or have been in the top 10.
Starting to beat up each other over there in Central Iowa.
Yeah.
Johnston, Southeast Polk.
I think Fort Dodge has a nice football team going. So it'll be very interesting to see how those pods work out, and then they get into the bracket play.
Then a rule was passed this week is if you lost games during the regular season and you're out of the playoffs early, you could still play scheduled football games. Schedule some football games all the way up until the start of the semifinals.
That's interesting. I mean, to give them a chance to play some more, I guess that'd be the cool thing to do. But you got to hire officials if you're going to do that, or are you just going to do scrimmages? I mean, is it going to be a scrimmage form, or does it actually become an official game?
It would be interesting to see how many teams would take advantage of that. So that'll push the Cougars back. 4th down. White. Under pressure, trying to make something happen. And well, he makes an attempt to get to the 15-yard line. Won't happen. As he is shoved out of bounds, and West will take over on downs.
Boy, the Trojans did an excellent job of covering everybody downfield. And I was looking for DeMarcus Ray coming out of the backfield, and he does, but he gets picked up by the linebacker. And I'm sure that's what who Max was looking at to begin with. And so Max tucks to run. Just can't get close enough to the first down.
Howarth got him out of bounds.
I certainly got to credit Kennedy with 21-point effort in the last 2 minutes of the first half, and then pretty much this entire second half. They just got to find a way not to allow your opposition to score 35 points in the first half.
Trojans hit hard in the first quarter. Quarterback in there. Tyus Bell picks up about 7 yards for Iowa City West. Senior getting some time on senior night. Phoebe Burt has come into the game. How about that run out close to the 40-yard line? Big time run there by Tyus Bell. So Phoebe Burt playing some football for the Trojans, and a pretty famous father.
No doubt. Kevin B.F. Burt, blues rock artist here from the state of Iowa, the younger brother of one Kerry Burt.
Played football in Iowa.
There he is.
Proud moment for him.
Yep, Kevin has had tremendous support here at the state of Iowa for what he can do with music.
And ran into him before the game. He said he had to drive 7 hours just to get here tonight. He's playing up in Minnesota.
Upstate Minnesota he was playing. He's got to drive a long way to get some of these gigs to play. But I've seen him numerous times in the Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty, Cedar Rapids area.
Well, that's how you want to end a senior night. Iowa City West 4-0. Kennedy falls to 2-3. 48-21. Trojans will be back. High school football on Mediacom MC22 is brought to you by McGrath Family of Dealerships, 5 Seasons Tire, the Tom Riley Law Firm, Collins Community Credit Union, Heartland Hearing Center, and by Extreme, powered by Mediacom. 48-21, Iowa City West over Kennedy. And Jerry, just have to go back to the first quarter and the first half. 5 possessions for the Trojans, 5 TDs. That set the tone.
Well, they prepared themselves very well for this football game tonight. They got it all taken care of in the first half, and they added a couple more touchdowns in that second half. They got some talent. They got some good leadership, Rob, and experience. I think it's going to help this Iowa City West team move in the distance into the 4A tournament.
A one to watch for sure. Thanks to our entire MC22 crew, broadcast partner Jerry Quell. I'm Rob Brooks. Thanks so much for watching. 48-21. Trojans over the Cougars. Good night from Iowa City.